Bacha Party. Welcome to the fourth session of Productive Mechanism. The Productive Mechanism. I'm Ankara, your master teacher for Social Sciences and Vedantu. Hope all of you are doing absolutely amazing and staying home and staying safe. Okay, so let's get started, guys. Before we actually jump to the discussion of the chapter, I actually want to talk about certain problems that we have been facing, right? These are certain concerns which have been highlighted by the students, by you guys, and we thought that this needs to be solved. So we came up with a super solution, Vedantu Pro subscription. So all of your doubts, notes, all your stress on how are you going to clarify your doubts, where will you get your notes from, how will you get enough tests and assignments with proper reports, which will help you, prepare better, which will help you understand where do you stand, which will give you an exposure to all the competitive exams, will prepare you for that, give you a proper schedule to follow, and of course multiple choices for languages, along with live classes, micro sessions, crash courses, performance reports, and personalized attention. I think that's what you absolutely long for, don't you? How many of you always feel during the videos that, hey, I wish I could have directly asked ma'am or sir immediately at that moment that whatever question is coming to your mind? I'm sure most of you would have felt like that in most of the videos. So all of these problems will be solved with great discounts. I mean, like, how awesome is that? So you'll have three options which are of Vedantu Pro subscription, where you can choose it for 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. All you need to do is go on this link vdnt.in/ytpro and put on the coupon AKEPRO. If you apply this coupon, you're going to get amazing discounts on the subscription prices. How amazing would that be? Okay, now let's move on. So the homework, the answer to the homework question from the previous session is B, wage. And people who have answered the fastest are Dhruv Lifestyle, Wafa Fatima, and the Kudav. Congrats, you guys. You guys have made me so proud. And guys, all of your names can come here. All you need to do is make sure that you put the answers to the questions given at the end of the session, homework questions, the fastest in the comment box, not just in the live chat, and also that you're liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Okay guys, so today we're going to talk about types of capital formation, process of capital formation, need for capital formation, entrepreneur, and function and role of the entrepreneur. So we have already discussed what capital is and its characteristics in the previous session. We discussed that capital is basically the pre-produced goods or services which we use for the production, in the process of production, as is known as capital, right? So now there are different types of capitals, basically two. One is physical capital and one is financial capital. Now what do we mean? Physical means something that you can touch, something that is tangible, something that can be assessed, seen, which has a shape, size, which can be transformed. All of these things, basically tangible objects, is known as physical capital. So basically what you can see, you can feel, you can touch, things which are visible to us. But there is also something called financial capital. Now, what do we mean by financial capital? It's basically a power which is of purchasing, called purchasing power. So, general purchasing power, how much do we have, is known as financial capital, bacha. Okay? Now, example of physical goods will be, physical capital would be machineries, right? You can see assets like machines, plants, factory buildings, etc. These are my capitals which can be seen, which can be transformed, and these are the pre-produced things which helps further in production of goods and services for me. But the financial capital is basically my purchasing power, which means how much power do I have to create more capital, to create more assets, to create more investment. That is known as my financial capital. So it's basically, it's in the form of money or some kind of securities like shares, bonds, debentures, debentures, etc. So these are basically two types of capital. Okay. Now, how do we do capital formation? How is capital formation done? So, first of all, we need to understand what we mean by this. So, which a capital formation for to happen, it basically means that you need to have money in order to have purchasing power, right? And you use the same money to buy material product capital as well. material capital as well. So by capital formation, we basically mean that the stock, okay, of the capital goods, the assets that we have, how can we increase it? How can we form it more and more? For example, if I have 2 machines, how can I make it 5 machines? That would be my capital formation. If I make that 2 machines into 5 machines, okay, and that will in return help me create more production. So more capital formation, more production. Okay, so you might have read this, you might come across these lines that capital formation ensures more production. So this is what we mean by it. The more you invest into capital, the more capital you create, the more production will happen. They are directly proportional. Okay, so in other words, we can say that capital refers to basically net addition made to the capital stock of an economy during a time period. Now I will simplify this for you. So in a simple time period, let's say this year, okay, I take this year 2020 to 2021. What is that I have in my stock? Okay, stock, you know, collection which is there, which you keep piled up. So in my capital stock, what net addition I can make, what else can I make, and that will basically increase my production, okay, which will of the economy. Now, process of capital formation. So we understood what capital formation is. Now we are quickly going to understand what is the process of formation. So bachcha, capital formation happens in 3 stages. Okay, 3 steps, which is creation of savings, mobilization of savings, and investments of savings. So while we were doing the characteristics of capital, if you remember, I told you this is basically outcome of money, right? It's not income of money, it is outcome of money. Money goes away. You have to keep some money in your stock or your savings, and then you use those savings that you have earned, that you have been rewarded by. You use those savings to create more capitals, to stock it up, to increase. So naturally, to increase it is basically the capital formation process. Now this capital formation process is done in 3 stages. So all of these things are related to my savings. How do I create my savings? How do I mobilize? How do I move my savings? And how do I invest my savings? Okay, this will create the capital formation. Now we will understand these 3 steps in detail. What do I mean by creation of savings, Vicha? So creation of savings means basically when I'm earning money, I am saving it for myself for future use, right? Suppose I get 10 rupees, so I save 5 rupees and I spend 5 rupees. So that 5 rupees will be my saving. So this is done by different individuals, different people who are in the business, who are a part of the organization, who are entrepreneurs. All of these people, laborers could also do that. But capital are usually applied or invested in by the entrepreneurs. So let's take them for example. So that will be counted as savings, which is done on an individual level. Okay, now it depends on 3 factors. 3 things. Ability to save, which means I should at least get enough money to do the saving. See, that's the problem with the laborers, right? And that's why their efficiency is also less. That they're not getting enough wages. They don't have enough money to do things. So their savings is very less. But that of the same factory owner where this labor is working, the entrepreneur, will be way higher, which means he will have the ability, he will have the space to save, to be able to save good amount of money. Now, similarly, there is desire to save. Now, suppose I'm earning 20 lakhs rupees or I'm earning 50 lakhs rupees. It doesn't matter how big amount I'm earning. It is always about, do I have the desire to save? It could be personal, it could be family, it could be national considerations, for whatever reasons. It could be because I want to save because I want to have enough money to create my assets, or it could be because I want to save because I want to spend it on my family. For whatever reason you want to save, that desire should be there. If it's not there, people end up on spending all the money, like my friends. Every month end, no matter how much they earn, the stupid people will never have any money left. They will always be struggling in the last week of the month. So these are kind of people who do not have any desire to save, though they have the ability to save. So bacha, always remember, just because you have the ability to save, it doesn't mean you will still be able to save. You also need to have the desire to save the money. Okay. Similarly, the third one, opportunities to save, which means you are living in a place, you are living in an environment where you have the chance to save the money. Suppose you're living in a war zone, you won't be able to save. You might not be getting enough money, or even if you're getting, you have to spend all the money in protecting yourself. So basically, you're living in a peaceful, in a secure environment where you can do the saving. You have the opportunity to do the saving. Then after you are done saving, then we move to mobilization of saving. Okay, after we have created the saving, then how will we mobilize it, how will we move it? So savings have to be used in a very judicious way. If I'm not using my savings properly, then the whole purpose of saving fails. So it has to be made sure that it is, the saving is coming to some production, it is being productive when you're using it, and also for investment purposes. Okay, so to make sure that we are using it for productive purposes and investment purposes is a part of the mobilization of savings. So in order to do this, we require a network. Okay, we require multiple sources to make this happen. And who does this for us? The banks and the financial intermediaries does this for us, the mobilization of the savings. And then comes investments of the savings. Now you have mobilized it, you have a good network, you have saved it, you have created it, you have mobilized it. Then what? Then you need to put that money in a place where you can get good returns, right? Where you can like you're investing it in order to create some motivation, in order to create some asset, something for yourself, right? So it has to be made sure that the entrepreneur anywhere, okay, in an economy, the entrepreneurs are the basic people who are making those profits, who are doing this savings majorly, right? So they are taking the highest risk in the business, because they do not know. One thing is there, bacha, whenever you are producing goods, you are producing as per the present demand. You never know what is there going to be in future. For example, let's say in the beginning of 2020, people produced a lots of goods, be it makeup, cosmetics, be it textiles, be it let's say restaurants, investing in restaurants. They grew their, or the entrepreneurs made a lot of investment and enhanced their restaurants. Now what happened? 2020, the entire demand of all of these things just went down. Why? Because the pandemic. Now nobody needs all of these things, everyone is staying home. So they are taking the biggest risk, they are bearing the biggest risk by doing the investment, by investing their savings to in the productive channels to make the production higher. So the motivation for them should be that the rate of the interest should not be very high. So because they're making investment, the rate of interest on those investments should not be very high, so that they're at least somewhere satisfied that, hey, I applied it here, I'm not paying a lot of extra money just because I borrowed some money. And then of course good expectations of profit. They should be expecting that their profit will be good. Okay, now need for capital formation. We are saying that we are doing capital formation. What is capital formation? We are understanding the stages of capital formation, but why do we need to do it? So bacha, if you do not put more capital, your production will be stagnant. So if you want to increase the production of the land or the labor, we have to put the capital more and more into it, right? So the more you increase the capital, the more the production will be increased, and that's the idea, first one, of doing this. Second, what happens? When I'm increasing the production, more employment will be created, more opportunities of jobs will be created. So it's a dependent thing, interdependent thing. I'm putting in more capital, creating more production, creating more job opportunities, creating more employment for the people. So increase in employment is the second factor. Okay? Then of course helps to extract goods in nature and provide necessary tools and implements. The more we produce capital, the more extraction will be done and of goods in the nature, because pre-produced goods need goods from the nature, right? So the raw materials will be taken, they will be produced, and then that will help us have the necessary tools, necessary implements that is required for better production. Okay, then technological process and production of goods are possible only with capital. If you do not put the capital, then all of these process and productions is just going to go down. So with this, we have done three factors of production. We have finished land, we have finished labor, and we have finished capital. Now let's move on to the most the highest risk taker, the entrepreneur. So who is the entrepreneur, bacha? Entrepreneur is basically the organization himself. He himself acts as the whole organization, the whole enterprise, because he is the person who looks out for the chances, for the opportunities, and makes all of the other three factors work together, plans everything out, and responds to these opportunities with a plan in place. If we go by definition, it will be said an entrepreneur is a person person who performs dual functions of risk taking and control as well, right? We just now saw that he takes the maximum amount of risk, so he should earn the maximum amount of profit also, and he's also taking care of the whole production. So because he risks everything that he has, he's the one who does all the investment, he's the one who brings in all the capital, he's the one who pays the wages, he's the one who's paying the rent, and on top of that he's making the risk because he's not sure what kind of demand will there be for the production that he's doing now. Tomorrow will it be in demand or not? So because he's doing the most amount, taking the most amount of risk, he's entitled to most amount of profits also. And then the second factor is decision making. He makes all the decision. He does the selection of the commodities, he decides the design, the quality that will go with the plan, he does all the planning, he decides how many people will work, he decides the wages of the workers, he decides where the plant will be, he decides where the land will be, what kind of capitals needs to be brought, he does the selection of all the technology, all the techniques, everything. He is the know-how of the entire process of production, so he is the basic decision maker. Then he is the one who takes care of the coordination and supervision, right? He is the person who brings all the other three factors together and organizes them. He does the planning. For example, arranging for the land, purchasing the machines, making provisions for the labor, hiring the labor, all of this is done by him. And as a result of this, he is the one who decides what will be the reward for each factor of production, how will the value will be divided, how the work will be divided, and then that is the distributive function that the entrepreneur performs. And also he is the one who is coming up with new ideas, right? He is the one who is introducing new products, new techniques, new processes, new plans. So he's also the innovative mind behind all of this. So that makes him that gives him the innovative function. Now, if we talk about the role of an entrepreneur in the entire economic development of any place, what does he do? So, bacha, entrepreneur is the person who's putting in more capital, who's putting in more investment, who's putting in more plan, organization, everything. As a result of which, the output, the end result is what is going to increase. Okay. So, what amount, what kind of product is going to be produced? The quality, the quantity, the process, the timing, all of this is being dependent on the entrepreneur. It is the class of the entrepreneur that decides this, right? So this is what the production or the output will depend on, right? And a country which is having a large national income, okay? So income is what will decide capital, which will decide investment. So naturally, where the income is more, will always have more number of entrepreneurs in the modern outlook. So these guys will because increase the outlook, so the entire income increases, and then that leads, that is a given thing, that a country where there is a large income, they will possess larger amount of entrepreneurs in the modern world. If we talk about mobilization of saving, which we're just discussing now, ideally what happens? We have savings, so naturally this is what grown-ups do. Okay, now for example, I also, if I have some salary, part of my salary which is saved, which I save, which I do not end up spending, what will I do with it? I will leave it idle in my bank account. I will not always invest it. Okay, so that is the problem, that mobilizing of idle savings of public through issue of shares and debentures is not done. So he is the one who takes care of that also, and this becomes very, very important for any country to have economic development, bacha. For any country to develop, people are encouraged to do a lot of investments. The more they put in money, the more economy, the cycle will be going on. It's a little complex process. It's like water cycle. The water vapor has to be there for the rain to come back, and for the water vapor to form, the water that is already there needs to evaporate. Similarly, for the economy, development of economy, it's like a cycle. It has to go there. You earn the money, then you have to invest the money, then that investment will generate more money. You will also have money, and the economy will also get boosted up. That's basically the cycle that you need to understand. Okay, and that is what we are talking about by creating the balance in the regional development as well. So setting up of industries in the areas which are not very advanced also helps us in having, see what will happen if I set up, see with land, we discussed this, right, that the land value will be more in the cities and less in the villages. But what do? People go and put the factories in the cities only, as a result of which their investment is also increasing. So if you want to have concessions, if you want to have less investment, you can always go and set up the factories in backward areas which are subsidized by the government. Your investment will also be less. You're also empowering the other people. You're also uplifting the economic like the zones. Okay, so this will be uplifting the economic zones over there. Then generate employment opportunities. Of course, more as we discussed, more capital investment, more production, more employment, more opportunities, more vacancies generated. So this will reduce the unemployment problems in the country as well. Okay, and of course it will help us reducing the dependency on other countries. Right now what we are doing, we are not having our own production in enough amount. We depend on a lot of other countries and we import all of these products. If we start producing everything that we are actually importing on our own, it will help us substitute all the imported goods and reduce our dependency on other countries. Okay, so with this guys, we are done with today's session. Let's quickly look at your homework question. Which among the following is not one of the stages of capital formation? Distribution of interest, mobilization of savings, creation of savings, or investments of savings. And if you have liked the video and you are up for Vedantu Pro subscription, don't forget, for the people who have missed it in the beginning, to click on this link guys, get the subscription. You just have to apply the code AKEPRO and you're gonna get great amount of discounts. Guys, if you like the video, do hit the like button and make sure you're putting your doubts in the comment section so that I can pick it up from there and discuss in the Downton Mentee session. But sure, do hit on the bell icon and subscribe to the channel so that whenever the next video comes up, you get the notification before anyone else, before anything else. Okay, and you do not miss on the next upcoming video. I will see you guys very soon. Till then, take care, stay safe guys, stay home and have a great day ahead. Bye bye.